So, ever since I did the TF2 Mercenaries in Overwatch, I've been thinking about putting other characters in there and seeing what their abilities would look like. So I gathered up a few notes on some people. Let's get started. There's some wacky shit I'm gonna put in here. Like our first candidate, the Gravemind. Look, guys, I know the Gravemind's like 100 miles long. Let's just forget that for a second and make it make it so he could just like slither through the ground or whatever the fuck. Man, make him tunnel through the floor like Venture to get places. Yeah, let's just size him down to like the size of any other tank, like 7 feet tall or whatever. Anyways, his main attack is gonna be a bite. We've all seen how big the Gravemind's mouth is. He's just gonna chomp down on anybody. That bite is also gonna have a little bit of knockback. His first ability is gonna be sending out 3 little flood infection forms to just hold somebody in place for 2 seconds and deal 5 seconds of 20 damage. It's really not that much. Any healer could just heal him. Any cleanse. Let's say it also goes away on picking up a health pack too. If you pick up a health pack, the damage over time goes away. That or the damage over time doesn't go away on health pack pickup, and instead teammates can shoot the infection forms off you to lower the time that the damage is happening by about, what, 1.5 seconds each. That way you still get a little bit of value off it even if they kill all 3. And that's that. Let's actually give him 2 charges of that. You know how like Reinhardt gets 2 fire strikes? I feel like he would get 2 volleys of those flood infection forms at least. I mean, you gotta make it fair. Reinhardt does over 100 damage with each fire strike, and it can go through as many people as are in a straight line. Meanwhile, this only does 100 damage over 5 seconds. So I think 2 or 3 charges that recharge every 5 seconds would be actually fair. Alright, his second ability would be to throw one of his tentacles forward, grab somebody, and just yeet them straight up into the air. And let's say they take damage on impact with the ground after that. Unless they're a flying character, which can negate the falling damage by simply flying away. Oh, you know what? We can give him a right click. Since he doesn't have a shield like everybody else, we can give him a right click. You know those flood forms that shoot the spikes in Halo 3? Give him a volley of spikes for his right click, because he can't be purely a melee. I mean, even Reinhardt's not purely melee. So give him a volley of like 5 spikes in a straight line. Yeah, that should work. Also, are those bone spikes or are those actually teeth? Because those look like the teeth that the Gravemind has. They're on a smaller flood form, so they look like spikes as well. Whatever. This may be strange, but let's make his last ability a cloud of flood spores that obscures enemy sight. However, he and his team can see through it. And this really isn't overpowered, because remember, Sombra can still see people on critical health, Hanzo can still use his sonar arrow, Widowmaker's ultimate can still see through it, and turrets will still lock onto people regardless. Not to mention, people like Junkrat and Pharah won't even need to see you. They could just click in the general vicinity and they'll be doing their job. Let's also make it so that it does, what, like 30 damage a second if you walk in there, and the cloud lasts for 6 seconds. So you're taking a risk walking in there. Nobody could be in there. However, you could also kill somebody and get out alive. That seems like a fair ability. That one might be the one with the highest cooldown though. His ultimate, however, will be the best thing he has. So during his ultimate, he does that stupid flood roar that they do. They're like,
I will know all that I possess! I will know all that I possess!
anyways, he just kind of targets the area around him, and any of his abilities or any of his teammates that are in his direct vicinity that kill an enemy, once that enemy dies, they will be replaced with an AI version of that hero on their side, because you know how the flood works, it infects stuff and all that. And his ultimate should last for what, like 8 seconds? 8 or 10 seconds, because the AI in Overwatch is actually shit. Let's make it so that it doesn't work on sentries, but it will bring Bob back to the other side. Yeah, that seems fair, because Bob is allowed to contest points and payloads and shit, so he technically counts as a player. Meanwhile, turrets don't, so they are unaffected by the bringing back to life. Alright, next is the Dragonborn from Skyrim. You know what? If they ever do an Elder Scrolls crossover with Overwatch, Brigitte should be the Dragonborn. Freaking Whirlwind Sprint is her shield bash. There you go. They should get the voice actor to say the shouts. Now, this is really weird, but I feel like the Dragonborn, as much as people might want him to be a DPS, I feel like he could also be a support. He just has enough abilities to be either a DPS or a support. You know what? Why don't we do both? Why don't we? I'm gonna do 2 different versions. All right, so obviously we're gonna have to give him unrelenting force as his first ability. It knocks everybody in a straight line backwards. Let's give it massive knockback because it won't do much damage. 20 or 30 damage, but they fly back like 10 feet. Yeah, that seems fair. As much as people like Stealth Archer, I really don't feel like we should have another archery DPS. That would just make things weird, especially since they're both related to dragons. Actually, we can make his primary weapon a crossbow. That's something we haven't seen in Overwatch yet. They got the crossbow skin for Tracer's pistols. Those are still pistols. We don't actually have a crossbow character. Alright, his second ability would be Soul Tear. You know how Baptiste is able to keep people at a certain amount of health with his invulnerability field? Well, Soul Tear will do the exact opposite. It will make it so that you can't heal a certain amount of health during the entire duration. So it would take like 50 health off that you couldn't heal. Or for tanks 100 health, because, you know, tanks have so much goddamn health and damage it doesn't even matter. I'd say it lasts for like 4 or 5 seconds. And his final ability would probably be the Storm Summon. You remember how the Dragonborn could summon a storm, a lightning storm? It would be like a miniature Bastion ultimate where it just shows the area that it's gonna strike. It'll probably be a bigger area too. Either that or it's the same size, but the lightning spreads to people around you. The main person takes 50 damage, everybody else around him only takes 20 because, you know, they weren't hit directly with it. And the main person gets stunned, nobody else does. Now, for ultimate, obviously we're gonna use Summon Durnavir, because, you know, one of the most badass things about freaking Skyrim was summoning a goddamn dragon. You know, he just does 3 swoops over whatever line you choose. Let's say you choose a line and he swoops 3 times over that line and breathes fire. Let's say the fire does like 60 damage per flyby. That's not bad. Nah, let's raise it to 70. Remember, it's an ultimate ability. If it doesn't do a lot of damage, it's trash. Tracers sucks. It's the worst bomb in the entire game. I think Junkrat's normal primary fire does better damage than Tracer's entire kit. Alright, now for turning the Dragonborn into a support character. The primary weapon can stay the same. The first ability will be, you know how you do the dual cast? Yeah, he just holds out both his hands to do the healing spell, and he just heals people over time. Of course, he can't do damage while he's healing, so there's your trade-off. His second ability is going to be using Become Ethereal on a teammate, except instead of just making them completely invulnerable to damage, you know, that would be pretty overpowered, it makes them immune to headshots, and gives them a 20% damage resistance for 5 seconds. Fuck it, why not? It's really not that powerful. I mean, I think Reinhardt can still insta-kill most people with a charge regardless of that buff. Actually, let's make it so that if the Dragonborn dies, that buff goes away immediately. Last ability, Elemental Fury. You use that on a teammate, and it increases their attack speed by 15% for also 5 seconds. Well, that's something. Let's make the support Dragonborn's ultimate ability Dragon Aspect. This ability will give him a 40% damage resistance, as well as increase his healing by 30%. And you know what? Increase the effectiveness of all his abilities by 30%. That way he can either give one person 2 huge buffs, or he can give 2 people sizable buffs. Alright, now we got Marvel's Green Goblin. To my knowledge, they have not put Green Goblin in Marvel Rivals. So, we're gonna make Green Goblin. He's obviously gonna be on his glider. He's not gonna be able to fly upward without using an ability, though. He's gonna be floating higher than most characters, but he's not gonna be able to actually fly unless he uses his first ability, which is literally just dashing forward or upward with his glider. If he runs into somebody with his glider, it does 30 damage and then a tick of bleed damage, or 2 ticks of bleed damage. How much does bleed damage actually do? I have no idea. I paid 0 attention to Junker Queen, and nobody plays Junker Queen. So let's just give it a little bit of bleed damage. The reason I wanted to have bleed damage is because of the way the Green Goblin died, getting stabbed by his own fucking glider. His primary fire would obviously be the Goblin Bombs, which would have a very tall arc arc. I don't remember them having it in the movies. Green Goblin in the comics had an electro blast glove, so he could shoot blasts at people. It was called an electric blast glove, but they didn't say it was made of electricity. They just said it was energy. Let's give him that as an ability to shoot like a shotgun blast of like 8 of those things in a square. You gotta be really close. Each one does 10 damage. That's 80 damage total, but they gotta be close. Let's make it very inaccurate. It's something to finish people off. Guys, I just thought of the dumbest ultimate ability ever. I swear the Green Goblin's glider has guns on it, guys. I swear. Alright, his ultimate ability. Alright. His ultimate ability is literally just Bob, but it's his glider. He's able to use all his abilities independently, but his glider is shooting at everybody that he's shooting at. So if he hits somebody, the glider targets that specific person until he hits somebody else, in which case the glider swaps targets and hits to somebody else. It can't get headshots though. No headshots. Not like Torb's turret where you can accidentally get headshot if you walk into it. But yeah, that's all I got for this episode. Maybe I'll do more of them. This was actually pretty fun for me because there's some stuff that I wanted to include that I know I probably shouldn't. Like Green Goblin has these ghost bombs in the comic that literally just create a bag around somebody and suffocate them. That is fucking broken, but there's already too much stun in Overwatch as it is, even though they reset it and then added more stun with every single tank. Anyways, I'll see you later. Goodbye.